Ladies and gentlemen, we call him the Shaft of News. It's Joe Madison, the Black Eagle. What's going on, Joe? How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Madison, the Black Eagle's in the house. I had a chance to see you last night on Reverend Al Sharpton show. The situation with Rush Limbaugh, Netflix have dropped them, Clear Channel, LifeLock, and many others. What do you think about that whole situation?
Well, I started this whole thing called the power of the purse. Look, women make up 50% of this U.S. population. They have tremendous influence. I don't know about your household, but in my household, my wife, my daughters, the women in my life have tremendous influence, and they got a nice, heavy purse. And this is what this is really all about. This transcends race. This transcends political parties. This transcends everything. He not only referred to Sandra as a slut, a prostitute, and then he tried to be slick by using the term round heel. Now, that's an old term which simply means prostitute. So everybody needs to know that code word. But you know what Rush Limbaugh did, Michael, that a lot of people didn't catch yesterday? When his apology, he said that I'm not going to use code words. And I keep telling the audience, I keep telling young folk, there are code words out here, and you've got to know the code. He admitted on air that in his rants and ravings, he uses code words, except this time, I hope she gets an attorney, and I hope that women and men who support women in this country and in our community will do what they call selective buying. He has a right to say whatever he wants to, but guess what? I have a right to spend my money where I want to, and that's what's happening in this country. His days are numbered.
Do you think he's going to be fired?
I don't think he'll be fired.
No.
I think what you'll find out, there has to be consequences. I mean, out there in Los Angeles, KFI, Ken and John, they were at least suspended. You had people like Imus. He was at least suspended. Clear Channel, in all honesty, I just wonder where Mr. Hogan is on this as it relates to his moral values, because if he thinks that half-hearted apology yesterday suffices, then I think that he doesn't realize that a critical mass is growing in this country. That's really what's happening. A critical mass is growing. And it's not just national sponsors. You know the business. Can you imagine a local sales rep trying to sell Rush Limbaugh to a car dealer?
I know.
To a jewelry store? It's not going to happen.
You were also very passionate about Judge Richard Seidel, Montana chief federal judge, about his position, the email. He apologized for the email talking about the president's mother having sex with a dog.
You got it right.
Oh,
that's
my
exactly
goodness.
What that's exact. I have never in my life. Now, remember, this is the chief federal judge. He's the top federal judge in Montana who said, oh, this moved me. This email moved me, and I hope it moves you the way it moved me, and then sits there and jokes about the president's mama, man, having sex with a dog. Now, I don't know about your neighborhood, but in my neighborhood,
that's a beat down.
We don't even play. Oh, man, we don't even play the dozens. That kind of stuff will get your butt kicked so fast. Now, the reality is the National Bar Association, the American Bar Association, I think black women's groups, white women's groups, everybody ought to be demanding that he resign. Matter of fact, I've talked to Reverend Al Sharpton, and I think when they get back from Montgomery, Alabama, we should be making our way to Montana. I mean, quite honestly.
That was the rudest thing I've ever heard. It's the rudest thing I've ever heard said about a president, ever.
You just don't, I mean, it's amazing. And he is a federal judge. Now, also keep in mind, remember, if you read the whole statement, he not only talked about the president's mother having sex with a dog and thought it had moved him, but he admitted in his apology that it was racist. So here you are, a woman that has to go before the chief federal judge in Montana. You're a black who has to go before a chief federal judge. Look, you don't have to be Johnny Cochran to know that this judge would have to recuse himself if you're a woman or an African American. He can't judge your case. He can't do it.
He would have to recuse himself. There's no way in the world anybody's going to accept a ruling from him after what he said about the president if they're African American.
Absolutely, and I'm calling on Ted Turner. He ought to say something. You know, Ted Turner is the largest landowner in Montana. You know, Tom Brokaw. You know, it's time for folk to start speaking up and speaking out.
But they did say in Georgia and Wine, you know, you can't remove him unless, you know, I heard the gentleman on the show yesterday when you all were talking about what it would take to remove a federal judge, 2/3 of the House of Representatives. I mean, that's and 2/3 of the Senate. I mean, that's pretty tough.
It's the same standard, the same bar as the President of the United States in impeachment. It has to be high crimes and misdemeanors. But what you did hear the professor, the law professor say is that public pressure may have to be imposed on him, and that's why I tried to say near the end of the show, this is where we ought to all come together, and maybe we need to fly out to Montana and start putting public pressure, because I can't believe that the people of Montana would put up with this kind of federal judge, because they've got to be concerned about his sense of judgment also. You send that kind of letter out, wait a minute, on your official federal judge email. This fool didn't even have sense enough to do it on his personal email.
I know. I mean, that is as bold as it gets, right?
He obviously doesn't want to be appointed to the Supreme Court. Obviously.
Hey, Joe Madison, how can they reach out to you and hear all these other wonderful things you talk about civil rights and all the other things you're doing in the community?
Hey, man, JoeMadison.com. I'm just proud to be a friend of Michael Baisden. Any day you call me, man, you know, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to stop and answer the phone.
Thank you very much. Joe Madison, ladies and gentlemen, a.k.a. the Black Eagle, better known as the Shaft of Radio.